Ethan had lived in the same small, worn-out apartment for 3 years. It wasn't much, but it always felt like a safe haven, a quiet corner, in a bustling world. That feeling of safety shattered the night. He noticed something deeply unsettling about his bathroom mirror. It started subtly, as these things often do. He leaned in to wash his face, the water cool against his skin, and caught a flicker of movement in the reflection. He hadn't moved a muscle. He paused, staring. His reflection's eyes seemed to lag just a fraction of a second behind his own. Its smile, when he tried to force one, was just a shade too wide, a little too eager. "Just tired," he mumbled to himself, shaking his head and splashing more water on his face. It had to be exhaustion. What else could it be? But the strangeness didn't just go away. It grew, creeping into the corners of his mind like a persistent shadow. Over the next week, the anomalies became more frequent, more undeniable. His reflection would sometimes blink when he didn't, a slow, deliberate closing of the eyes that sent a shiver down his spine. He'd say something under his breath, and he could see his reflection's lips move just after he spoke, as if it were silently echoing his words, learning his voice. The most unnerving moments were when he left the bathroom. He'd turn to walk away, and out of the corner of his eye, he'd swear the reflection lingered for a split second longer, its head turned, watching him go. The feeling was so intense he'd spin back around, only to find the mirror showing an empty doorway. He was starting to feel like he was losing his mind. The logical part of his brain screamed that it was stress, lack of sleep, his imagination running wild. He had to prove it. One evening, fueled by a mix of fear and determination, he marched into the bathroom and planted himself in front of the mirror. He stared, his gaze locked with his own. He didn't move. He didn't breathe too deeply. He didn't blink, his eyes burning with the effort. The silence in the small room was thick and heavy, broken only by the frantic thumping of his own heart. For what felt like an eternity, nothing happened. He almost let out a sigh of relief, and then it happened. His reflection tilted its head, just a slight, almost imperceptible incline to the left, while his own head remained perfectly still. The illusion was shattered. This wasn't in his head. Ethan stumbled back, his heel catching on the bath mat. He hit the wall, his chest pounding so hard he thought his ribs would break. Panic set in, cold and sharp. Without thinking, he grabbed the nearest towel and clumsily draped it over the mirror, hiding the horrifying image. He swore he would never look at it again. But ignorance wasn't bliss. It was torture. At night, lying in the suffocating darkness of his bedroom, he could hear things. Faint scratching sounds coming from the bathroom, like a fingernail being dragged slowly across glass. He told himself it was the pipes, the building settling, anything but what he knew it was. The towel he had so carefully placed over the mirror would be slightly askew in the morning, shifted just enough to create a small gap. He tried securing it with tape, but he'd still wake up to find a corner peeled back, as if a curious eye had been peering out. One night, the terror escalated. He woke with a jolt, a primal sense of being watched pulling him from a shallow, restless sleep. He sat bolt upright in bed. The bathroom door was ajar, a sliver of light cutting through the darkness. The towel was gone. It lay in a heap on the bathroom floor. And in the mirror, illuminated by the dim vanity light, his reflection was standing. It wasn't mirroring him. He was lying frozen in his bed, but the figure in the glass was standing, perfectly still, watching him. Its eyes were dark and empty. That was the breaking point. 7 nights of this escalating horror had frayed his sanity to a single trembling thread. He snapped. A primal rage, born of pure terror, surged through him. He jumped out of bed, marched into the kitchen, and grabbed a hammer from his toolbox. He was going to end this. He was going to shatter that cursed piece of glass into 1,000 pieces. He stormed into the bathroom, the heavy hammer feeling like an extension of his own righteous fury. His reflection was there, waiting for him. It wasn't menacing or aggressive. It was just standing there, a faint knowing smile playing on its lips. It was as if it knew this was coming, as if it had been expecting him. Ethan raised the hammer high above his head, his knuckles white, his arm trembling with adrenaline. This was it. He was taking back his life, his sanity. But just as he began to swing, his reflection spoke. Its lips moved, forming words, but no sound reached his ears. It was a silent, chilling pantomime. He hesitated, the hammer held aloft. What was it trying to say? Curiosity warred with his terror. Against all better judgment, he leaned closer to the glass, his heart hammering against his ribs. And then the whisper came, not from the room, but from the glass itself. It was faint, ethereal, a cold breath against his ear. "You're the reflection, Ethan, I've been waiting to get out." Before he could process the impossible words, the surface of the mirror rippled like disturbed water. A pale, cold hand shot out from the glass, breaking the physical barrier as if it were nothing. Its icy fingers clamped around his wrist with inhuman strength. Ethan opened his mouth and screamed, a raw, desperate sound of pure terror. But the sound was swallowed by the strange silence of the mirror, absorbed into the glass. In one violent final pull, he was dragged forward. The world dissolved into a dizzying vortex of cold and darkness. He felt himself being pulled through, his body stretching and compressing, and then stillness. The next morning, the neighbors on his floor heard the sound of running water from Ethan's apartment. It went on for hours. Finally, concerned, they called the landlord. He used his master key to enter the quiet apartment. The only sound was the tap running in the bathroom. He pushed the door open and found the light on, the tap running into the sink. The bathroom was spotless. The mirror was perfectly clean, gleaming as though it had just been polished. In the glass, a reflection stood still. It was Ethan. His eyes were wide with a silent, unending scream of pure terror. He was trapped. On the outside, in the real world, the man who looked like Ethan smiled at his own pristine appearance in the mirror. He calmly reached out, turned off the running water, and with a satisfied look, turned and walked away, finally free. Thanks for watching our story. If you enjoyed this dive into the darkness, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more terrifying tales. Let us know in the comments what you thought of Ethan's fate. Stay safe and maybe avoid looking in the mirror for too long.